Chris Blair will be there with the head coach of the Tigers. Joins us on Thursdays right here on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how we doing?
Doing good, man. So far, so good. I mean, I've said it now for 2 weeks, but how about 3-0? Sounds pretty good.
Always good to beat the Gators. That was an impressive defensive effort. What was more impressive to you, the fact that they turned them over 5 times or the fact that they essentially held them to 10 points?
I think both are pretty impressive. I just think the fact that, you had so much pressure that, Lagway was – I don't know. I haven't gone through the entire film play-by-play with the ball in his hands, but, again, the question marks coming into the game last week, at least from the Florida side, was if there's one thing that maybe has hurt DJ Lagway with the injuries prior to the season, is that his footwork has not been very good. We saw a lot of throws, even in the win over Long Island and the loss to South Florida, where there wasn't any pressure, but yet he didn't really look like he was setting his feet and stepping into the throws. It always seems like he's back foot throw or his hips are turned. And now you add LSU's pressure and you're forcing him to make those kind of throws. And then with the coverage that we've seen pretty much through 3 weeks of action for this secondary, I mean, I think you could pick either one of those. And based on what we haven't seen for a number of years, you got to be thrilled that, A, you're getting disruption at the point of attack, and you've got guys that can hold down on receivers down the field. And when the ball is put in the air, as Coach Kelly told us during the summer, they've got ball hawks. Well, they certainly proved it on Saturday because they forced him into some bad throws, bad reads. Again, you got to go up and make the play, and LSU did 5 times.
Blake Baker had a lot of work to do when he got here in the spring of 2024. What do you make of the turnaround of this LSU unit from the time he got here to today?
I think it's what Coach has said, and I think Blake probably would agree that, at one time you were trying to find the fit for the philosophy you have and the way you want your defense to play. And, I've always had the sense that Coach Baker feels like the best way to disrupt these high-power offenses is to be the aggressor. I just don't know that we had enough people, to do that in his first year. Now, it is amazing. Kudos to him. You wanted to see some improvement. I mean, how much did we talk about at the end of last year? We got to see major improvement. I think all of us kind of thought, yeah, we'd love to see major improvement, but let's just see a little improvement. And again, through 3 weeks, we have seen light years. I mean, absolute light years from where you were a year ago and certainly 2 years ago. And again, I think it has everything to do with putting the priority and going to find guys with the skill set that allows you to basically, look, we got to work on fundamentals. We want to tackle real well. We want to have our spacing right, all the stuff that they always will work on. But when you are now going into a Saturday game hunt where you're saying, okay, this is where their strengths lie, this is what we have to do to throw them off schedule, and it's not about who do we rely on. It's basically looking at the room and saying, guys, this is your responsibility. Go do it. That is such a 180 from where they were a year ago or 2 years ago.
I've seen your spotting charts. You're quite prepared for these games. You got to have a lot of guys on that defense for the LSU team because they are rotating guys in at a remarkable level. What can you say about the depth that has been cultivated here? Because they've had some guys that have missed time in the Clemson and the Florida games, and they haven't missed a beat.
How many times, Hunt, have you seen a coach, any coach from any program, high school, college, pro, you name it, say in the summer, we're looking to add to our depth. We got to get depth. Then you get to about midway through the season and you'll hear, we just don't have the depth. When you hear a coach in the preseason say, my goodness, we've really got some great depth at this position, in this position, this position. I mean, that's not a groundbreaking statement. But what was displayed on last Saturday with the unfortunate, horrible decision, I know it's the rule, I know definition of the rule, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. There has to be another look taken at the targeting call and automatic disqualification. But you lose Witt early. West steps up in a big way. Then you lose him. You got Devon Hughes, who I thought at the end of last year may have been playing better than any linebacker outside of Witt that LSU had. He hasn't seen a ton of snaps, but he comes in and looks like all-world. Singleton comes in. He looks like all-world. And then, not because you wanted to, but because you had to use the third week's brother, And he holds his own for the limited snaps he had in that type of atmosphere. So when Coach Kelly tells us next time he really feels good about the depth that he has on his team, especially defensively, I say we believe him, because that was fully on display Saturday, and that can do nothing but help this team, regardless of what comes their way on the defensive side of the ball, this Saturday, next Saturday, or for that matter, the rest of the season.
We talked to Garrett Nussmeier last week, and he mentioned the word frustrated twice, and I get that because they know that they can be better. They were better than this last year, but they just haven't quite found their groove. What do you think it's going to take to get that thing rolling?
Well, I think, again, getting him 100% is good, but, I still would argue that an 85% Garrett Nussmeier, with his experience, his development, just the intangibles that he has, I'll take it every day. But I do think, and I'm going to ask that tonight, on Coach Kelly's radio show, I want to know, how does that affect the real-time decision-making from the offensive coordinator to the head coach to the quarterback on, does it limit him at all or no? So if it doesn't limit him at all, then, again, I think there's got to be, just some better play. There hasn't been a ton of time for him to sit back there, go through his entire progressions, but at times there has been, and they haven't been able to connect. Do I think that receivers at some point have to find a way to get a little better separation? When I go back and watch the film and, he's extending the plays, looking for something downfield, for some reason, some teams are right now not respecting the run game, so they're going to leave 5 or 6 guys in coverage and say, okay, we're going to try to sit down on your receivers. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think you could throw in there that, has everybody made the plays that were there to be made? No. Have some defenses at times this season, not in every game and not in every snap. Have they made things difficult? Yeah. The good news about it is that I think defense will keep you in every single game. And if you tell me the talent roster that's on this LSU team, because I've seen not only the guys who transferred in and the guys who returned actually do some amazing things offensively, I know they can do it. So, again, we'd love to have a fully formed offensive unit first week of the season. We'd love to have a fully formed defensive unit, special teams, no miscues at all the very first week, second week, third week. I know it's concerning, but I really think I'd rather be in this position with the offense, the ability to get better based on what we know that's on this roster, than the other way around. Because at some point, you just can't improve. And I think that could be an argument that was made on the defensive side of the ball last year and the year before. It is what it is. Let's just hope we get better. Yeah. I don't think that's the sense Coach Kelly and the staff is taking. I think they understand we have a chance to get better. We know we can play better. Let's go get better.
It's good weekend to get into a little bit of rhythm. I know you stand next to an old special teamer every Saturday. I sit next to one in BT. The punting was awesome on Saturday, and that was part of the reason that they were able to play such great defense and hold Florida down. What have you made of that addition with Grant Chadwick?
Again, I go back to what Coach Kelly told us this summer. Special teams has been wobbly, to say the very least, for a number of years at LSU, where you're not able to, A, flip the field, or B, get some of those hidden yards to set up your offense in better situations. And Coach Kelly kept saying, look, we got playmakers receiving kicks. We've seen that on display already. We think we have a punter who now, when called upon, can flip the field. And now that we know this defense is what it is, and you got a guy who can put it inside the 20, as well as Grant Chadwick has done, and suddenly now your defense is forcing offenses to go 90-plus yards, or for that matter, 85-plus yards. I like LSU's chances. So I go back to what Coach Kelly told us. He thought that this punting unit would be able to flip the field, and when you're averaging just under 51 yards a punt, and as you said, in a single game, pin them back inside the 24 times, that is a weapon. And again, if you're off, put it this way, Hunt, if I had to draw it up and say, all right, look, when they have the football, we want to stop them. I got a defense that can do that. When our offense gets bogged down and we got a bad field position, we need a guy to flip the field, because then we think in a possession or two, we're going to be starting the game at our own 45, and that's going to improve our chances offensively. And if you go back and look at the Louisiana Tech game, and again, I'm not saying Louisiana Tech is the world beater. It's not Ole Miss. It's not Alabama. It's not what's coming up on the schedule. What I will argue is that as that game went along, I think, don't quote me, starting position for LSU in the first half was somewhere around the 17, 16-yard line. In the second half, it was, I believe, their 42. That wins football games.
Yeah, no doubt they're doing a good job in terms of field position and have in all three games. So, kickoff on Saturday, 6:45. Pre-game show for us comes up at 4:45, I'm told. You got me a pretty good guest coming up for one of the segments. Can you tell everybody about it?
Yeah, you're going to get to sit down and talk to, and I hope you do your research. I really do.
I'll try.
I hope you don't come off as not prepared. But two-time national champion head coach Jay Johnson going to join the show and talk about fall ball and roster transactions and what's going to be added to the team. Because you know as well as I do, because you've done this interview a couple of times, and this will be your second time coming off a national championship. You probably want to mention it a little bit. Because I got to tell you, I bet Jay goes, that was last year, that was 6 months ago, we've moved on. But it's going to be fun to have Jay on the show and kind of talk about where baseball is going and, frankly, where they're headed.
I may trim a few minutes off the SEC scoreboard, maybe a couple minutes off keys to the game so we can have Coach a little longer. I'm looking forward to that very much. You'll have Brian Kelly with you tonight on The Brian Kelly Show, 7 o'clock from TJ Ribbs. You can listen on Eagle 98.1. Thanks, Chris. We'll see you Saturday.
You got it, bud.